Thank you, Sandra, for the warm welcome. I'm going to pick up where Kaylee has left off, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to think story when communicating with video. And the reason why I say think story is because no matter how many tools you have to create an awesome video, they're only tools. They're useless unless you've really thought about what it is that you want to say, and that's why story becomes important. So the first part of this session, we will very briefly talk about how to create a story for your research video. And in the second part of the session, we're going to focus a little bit more on the technical aspects of creating videos. If you find all of this very overwhelming and you think to yourself, I'm not technical, I don't know what to do, just remember that the simplest video to create is yourself talking directly to your phone camera. That's the simplest way to do it. So don't panic and don't get overwhelmed. Some of the skills here will take time to develop, but I have absolutely every confidence that you'll be able to do that. You don't really need to take notes. We're going to send the slide deck around after this session, and at the end of this particular presentation are top tips and reminders that I hope will prove useful. Unfortunately, because we've such a short amount of time, I can't go through all of them with you today, but I hope they'll serve as reminders when you're putting your own videos together. Again, because of the compressed amount of time and a very big topic that we're trying to talk about, this might feel a little bit rushed today, but please do ask questions either in the chat or at the end of the session. We have different ways to describe our research. So if you're like me, you'll find that you describe your research in different ways at different times to different people. So though your research is still the same, you're picking out certain things you believe the person you're speaking with might be interested in. So already you're thinking about the story you want that person to hear, and you do it without even realizing. We do presentations like this one today, and we speak at academic conferences, and we write journal articles and grant applications. And increasingly we're being asked to do video abstracts to accompany journal articles. All of these mediums though have one thing in common, and they all tell a story, but that story changes depending on the medium platform that we're being asked to use. What we're aiming for when we are setting out to create a video is to create an authentic connection. What we're trying to do is present our work and ourselves in a humanistic way. We want to encourage people to find out more. So your video story is really a promotional tool. You're not going to tell everything about your research to everybody. You're going to use it as a promotional tool. And for me, starting with any communications means planning, and planning, especially for video, is called storyboarding. What this means is we have to think about the structure of what we are going to say, that's our script, and how the different elements of design will work together. This could be something as simple as the camera angle you choose to use when you speak, or the emphasis that you place on particular parts of your speech. So it could be that you pause for a little bit longer at the beginning, or you speak faster in another place. But if you're going to use other components in video, such as images and music, it can start to get a bit more complex, and that's why storyboarding becomes useful. We use a kind of a structure for journal articles. We use that sort of, abstract discussions, results, methods. We use that sort of format for journal articles, and really all storyboarding is doing a similar thing for video. So I've broken these down for the purposes of this workshop, broken down how to create a video story into two pieces. Step 1 is your script and step 2 is your storyboard, but in reality these things happen together. When you come to write your script, what you're aiming for is not a beginning, middle and end story format. This is short form content, or what's sometimes called snackable media. Because it's a promotional tool, we want to get people interested in finding out more. So a problem solution format works really well. What's the problem you set out to investigate? What was the solution? Or did you only find part of the solution? Or are you only identifying part of the problem? So you have to kind of think about the problem solution format first. The second thing is you want to create a hook. Now this could be something as simple as the research aim of your overall research, or you might like to think of it as a headline in a newspaper. When you're scanning a newspaper, what do you see? You see a headline, you think that looks like an interesting headline, and then you read the story. Okay, and the rest of the story are the supporting ideas. And so, for example, this could be in your own research, your research objectives, or you might decide to focus in on just one research objective to create your video story. So you have some flexibility about the way that you want to actually construct your research. And then the last thing that you're I think this is really important, and it's something that people don't think about enough. You can consider it a soundbite or a tweetable quote. So if somebody is listening to you talking about your research, if you're doing your video story and somebody listens to it, what's the thing you want them to tweet about afterwards? Now you've no control over what they actually do tweet, but usually something very hard-hitting works. So a statistic, a feeling, something that resonates with people. So you need to think about your tweetable quotes, and I know Kaylee has talked, the first half of the session, Kaylee has talked about how to do that. Second step is storyboarding. So we take the script from step one, this is us having written down all of these things, and now we have to think about how we're going to put these together with the other components of video. So when you're looking at video, remember video is multimedia, that's lots of different media. So you want to think about how the script, which is one part of your storyboard, will work with your images, sounds, text and lighting. So to recap, remember your video is only a promotional tool. The aim of your video is to get people interested in finding out more about your research. What we're also aiming for is an authentic connection. We're looking to persuade people about our research, which doesn't mean that we're ignoring the facts of our research. What we're trying to do is create some sort of an emotional appeal that gets them interested in finding out more. Maya Angelou says people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel, and that's really what we're trying to tap into. We're looking at building that emotional connection that makes them interested. They could end up feeling angry when they see your research, or they could feel sad, or you might make them laugh. It all depends on what you are trying to impart. Whatever that emotional connection though is, it has to be authentic. So this isn't about creating something untrue, it's actually the opposite. It's trying to tap into essentially the humanness of what you're actually doing. Why is it relevant? Why is it important? Remember again that we're looking at creating a script. So that was step one of our process, was creating a script. So we need to consider our audience. If I'm talking to a technical audience, I might say things like, I'm using an exploratory descriptive approach. I do interdisciplinary research on cultural competencies. And I might say, if I'm talking to an ordinary person, a member of the general public, for my research, for example, I would just simply say, I talk to families about their experiences of stillbirth. So we change how we're talking depending on the audience that we're talking to. So keep that in mind. Who are you talking to? What do you want them to know? This is the hook that we referred to earlier, your headline item. What's the big splashy thing that's going to get their attention? Why should they care? So this is really where we're going for that authentic emotional connection. Why should they care? That should be really your tweetable quote. Should they care because 4.7 million families will be affected by birth trauma every year? That kind of thing. And if you have results, great, you can talk about it. If you don't worry about it. What's really important are the who, the what and the why. They're really the three critical things. So what kind of video do you want to generate? I look at them as sort of grouped into 5 different basic styles. The first being the biographic interview or narrative based video. So that's just simply somebody talking or being interviewed. It could be you actually creating your video abstract, for example. And in which case you might just be talking directly to camera, recording yourself on your phone. Another option that I use quite a bit is text-based videos, and the reason I like these is because you have a high degree of control over what you're saying, and they're very good for outlining complex pieces of information. You can choose image-based storytelling or image-based videos. This is a combination of using photographs or stock video clips or even a recording of something that you've done elsewhere, and you can use these blended together. Some of the video subscription services provide animated series of templates for use. They can be really effective depending on the audience that you're referring to. And the fifth group, I would say, I call them audio. So this is where you're using maybe voiceovers or audio tracks with text or images, or you could be using music with text or images. So you need to consider the elements of audio. And in reality, you could use a combination of all of these things. So our step one was talking about how we create a script. Our step two is now taking that script and turning it into a video. So as per the previous slide, we have to make a choice about what kind of a video it is that we want to actually make. When we come to do the storyboard, we're actually working with our script and our design elements together. We break our script out into sort of segments. If you're doing a video abstract, this could be something that you're breaking down. Very simply, it could just be, what kind of a background am I going to use? Am I going to change the background halfway through my talk? Am I going to change the camera angle? Or am I actually going to change the pace or the speed with which I'm speaking? Will I slow down halfway through? Will I pause for effect? That kind of thing. And you can actually make notes about that on your script. If you're going to do more complicated video stories, because remember, video is multimedia, we have a lot of different design elements that we can consider. We might think about the images that we're going to use, the fonts, the color, white space, lighting, backdrops. All of these things feature in creating our video stories. The tools that we use to create our videos are vast. There's lots of different options out there, but I'm just going to pick out some of the ones that I find most useful and the ones that I'm most familiar with. So the video software that you can use are listed here on the left, and I'm going to concentrate on these, talking you through these. The first one is PowerPoint. PowerPoint's not really designed to be a video tool necessarily, but it has a lot of capability for creating video. And if you are a subscriber to Microsoft Office Suite, PowerPoint and Microsoft Video Editor come built in basically with your Microsoft Office Suite options. So they're essentially free for you once you're a subscriber to Microsoft Office. You could also sign up to a subscription service such as Biteable or Canva. Biteable is brilliant for doing video, and if you're going to do a lot of video, it's probably worthwhile using something like Biteable. Canva is excellent for graphics. It is reasonable for video. I don't find it as intuitive to use as Biteable. And the other two options that you have are your phone and your PC. So your phone, you can record an audio only, or you can record video, and it could well have that the features on your phone have lots of built-in video editing tools such as lighting or effects of some description. For your PC, and particularly if you're using PowerPoint, you can also record yourself directly in PowerPoint. You can record a voiceover, you can have loads of images and be talking over the slides and recording it in one go. And that's simply how to just create a very basic video. If you're going to use things like sounds and images and fonts, there's subscription services that you can pay for. But if you sign up to, say, something like Biteable or Canva, these services usually have built-in audio, animation and font libraries as well. But the free options that you can look for are images from Unsplash and free fonts from Google Fonts as well. Okay, so we've looked at 4 video examples. and we've discussed the impact that this has had on us. And one of the things that I hope was very apparent from that was you can have a really good strong story or a really good strong script, and you can reinforce it using certain images and text and also music. And in particular, just to underscore the impact of music, music can be very, very persuasive because it has a hugely emotional impact on us. It can detract from what we're trying to say, or it can enhance what we're trying to say. What the 4 videos you saw had in common though was they were all created using PowerPoint. So PowerPoint is not a perfect tool, but it is one that's freely available and most people are familiar with how to use it. So I'm going to just show you very quickly 2 features in PowerPoint that we use to create the final 2 videos for the Cost Action World Mental Health Day. So this is the text-based video. The first thing I did was I created a script. Then I decided how I was going to break the script out over each slide like this. In the longer version, I then added images and I changed the format of the text. But in the text only version, I started with just the text on screen. Then I had to decide what I was going to do in terms of making the text dance, how I'm going to make it come alive, or how I'm going to animate it. And I do that by using this feature up here called animations. I can select the text, which I've done here, select the text that I want to add the animation feature to. And the one that's most commonly used is fade. So when I click this and I apply the animation to my text, I can have the text come up line by line, word by word, or paragraph by paragraph. And in this example, you can see the 0 here. That tells us that this chunk of text is going to come up as a single piece, so it's going to fade in as a single piece. The other feature that's really useful in creating video is using transitions. And this is again adding some movement to our slide deck. It's how one slide moves to the next. So it's the gap in between the slides. And again, I'm going to suggest that you use the fade option as the default setting. So this is really familiar. You'll know this from watching videos and film, how scenes fade away and some scenes fade back in again. You can again choose from a wide selection of transition effects, and you can apply that one effect or same effect to all your slides by clicking apply to all or doing Control A and clicking the transition style that you want. So you can set the amount of time between slides, which means this allows, for example, 2 seconds to read this text that's on the screen here in front of you. You can see here the time is up here. There's a little bit of an art rather than a science to this. How long each slide stays on screen is going to depend on how much text you have on screen to watch or read, or if there's images as well, you'll need to give people a little bit more time to focus on image as well as text. So the great thing about using PowerPoint though is that you can always change the timing very easily. If you use the preview function over here, you can see how it works before you set it in the whole thing together. And if it's too short or finding it too hard to read, you can go back over here and increase the time. When you've got your whole video created, the next thing that you need to do is look at the optimum time for it. Can you make it shorter? Can you make the text tighter? And when you're happy with what you've created, you save it as an MP4. Remember, the whole purpose of video in this context is it's snackable content. It's a promotional tool aimed at getting people's interest. So as a teaser, you're aiming for between 30 and 60 seconds or thereabouts, about a minute of video. After about 30 seconds, people's attention span tends to drift off. People have very short attention spans. If you're going to post on social media, remember to put a link to either your YouTube channel or your research website or the journal article or whatever it is that you're actually trying to draw people's attention to. So remember, it's a promotional tool to direct them to something else. How you're going to promote your video is also an important consideration. You'll need to decide where you're going to host your video. If you've got a Gmail account, you can create a YouTube channel free, and it's fairly easy to do. If you're going to do more than one video, you can add a selection of your videos to your YouTube channel, and then if you're posting on social media, you can just keep redirecting people back to your YouTube channel videos. Again, if you're actually using social media to promote your video, make sure that you tag your content. That's using hashtags here. This amplifies your research, and it should be hashtags that are relevant to your research area. So for us in Cost Action, it might be perinatal mental health. There are 3 features to do with web accessibility, and this is very frequently overlooked, and it's one of my personal bugbears. It drives me crazy. But when you're actually posting content on social media, try to use the capital letters to separate out the words in your hashtag. It improves it for web accessibility standards, for web accessibility reading. Use the video descriptions that you're offered when you upload your video. A short description is fine. This is videos about perinatal health, mental health, or you might put in one of the core statistics from your video. And if you're using graphics in any way, make sure that they're high contrast. Again, people who have sight problems or have colour blindness are at a big disadvantage, and we can help them by using high contrast images. So don't use pale pink against pale yellow. Don't use red against green. It's just too difficult for people to read them. So this brings us to the end of our session today. Remember, when you are trying to create your video story, the most important part is your basic script. This is the spine or the backbone of your video. So the script is the critical thing to get right. Remember your problem solution format and your hook. The story ultimately is what's important. Anything you do in terms of multimedia or design should support that core story. If you find this all overwhelming, and bear in mind we have compressed a week's worth of workshopping into 90 minutes, that what we want you to do is focus on your skills as a researcher. That's what you ultimately are as a researcher. Technical skills take time to develop, so it might feel overwhelming today, but you'll get there in the end. And there are subscription models available, and there are tools out there that you can use to make it easier, and if nothing else, you can use built-in templates. Remember to try and keep it simple. Strip it back. If you're thinking about all of these different elements of design, just channel your inner Coco Chanel and stick with black, white and grey as the core of any design work. Remember your tweetable quotes. Use them often and freely on social media. And in this slide deck, there are supplementary slides for you on all the things we didn't get to talk about today. And I want to finish with this one thing, which is ultimately when you're creating your story, what you are trying to do is build that authentic connection. There's only one person in the world who can be you, and that's you. And there's only one way that you can do the work that you do. So lean into your creative, authentic self and have fun creating the video that suits your research. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Sandra.